Kat from Kat's Creations or Kat's Cozy Creations or Creations by Kat, however you follow me. And this tutorial is going to be about creating Ellie the elephant. I'm going to start with the trunk, eyes, and the ears. And this is just a picture of my Ellie. I couldn't have her with me today because she is an Easter gift to a good friend who asked me to create her. Just like it says there, I have not watched a tutorial on creating her. I've scrolled by many different elephants. Several ideas came to mind from a friend that asked me to do this for her, and this is what I came up with. The only credit that I can give is to Holy Moly Dane for teaching me how to make the trunk curl up. I watched her video on how to create a gnome, and that same technique worked. And I will teach you that same technique that I learned from her just in using it for a trunk. So the first few paid things I just did on a picture so it would go faster. So I created a link chain just like you create anything of 10, and I looped it together with the tail through the last loop, pulled it tight, and then I knit it 10 loops. I went 10, this is Ellie's head. The bottom part ends up being the top of her head, and where you're knitting ends up being the bottom of her head because you'll attach more links down here, more loops down here to make her body and her legs. I went around 10 times. I went up 10 times. It measures about 6 inches wide and 10 inches tall. And the yarn I used is chunky number 10 bulky Chanel Blipperty from Amazon. That's where I get most all of my, that is where I get most all of my yarn right now. And this right here is going to end up turning into her head. So as we get started with making Ellie's face, and I wanted to make the trunk, sew the trunk right in so that it was raised in the middle, and then I built the circle of the trunk right around here. I could have attached this one just like this, gone through, but on all the pictures that she showed me, she wanted that raised section in the middle with the eyes on the side. And that's what I was going for. And I used my knowledge about putting initials and things onto blankets. So this is the tail of my yarn. And through trial and error, I learned that I needed to go through the top. I needed to give myself a lot of lead because this lead that I'm bringing through is what's going to make all the loops going up. And I needed to have my working yarn at the base is what I needed. So I had it folded so I knew this part would be in the middle. I knew the eyes would be here, and then I could make the ears right here. So I have said before in some of my other videos, I go extra because I'd rather go extra than take it apart again. So this yarn, this end piece, is you're going to loop from the bottom to the top. 2 on the bottom, 3, 3, 3, and 3. So it's a total of 5 rows, 4 sets of 3, and 1 set of 2. So that what you're working, that circle right here has 3 on the top and it becomes rounded. So what I'm doing is taking this set that I pulled all the way through, and with my hands up here, I am pushing it through the holes on the top. So when I push it through, I want to make sure that this part that I'm working with goes to my left. I'm going to put 3, 1, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go over 1. I'm pushing it up. There's another hole. You got to make sure there's a piece of yarn in there. 2, 3. There we go. 1, 2, 3. This is going to end up being the trunk, but I want to go 3 more up because those are the parts that I am going to pull over as if you were making an initial to make that raised section, and you go across. That's how I went. If you find a better way for it, go for it. You can let me know. I would love to know. There's my third. Remember, that's my yarn. So I'm going to go up 1, and I make sure I turn my loop so this piece is on this side because I'm going to my left. Not making super big loops. Going through. This is a pretty thick yarn. It's beautiful to work with, by the way. Here, and then 1 more set. Just enough, and I will have enough to then I'll have a little piece inside that I'm going to have to anchor and tie to one of the other edges that I have inside. It's not real long. So here I go. I have this. And then I take this loop in and I pull it over. This loop in, pull it over. I am, just to let y'all know, I am a tight knitter, and I pull down pretty tight. I'm that way with my blankets as well. And then I left this up so then I can knit. So do you see how that row is raised? Come over to the second one. You're going to do the same thing on the second row. Pull it in. If you want to make them bigger, so it's raised a little bit bigger, that is your choice. I love that we're creators, that we can kind of create our own way of doing things. So up we go. Up we go. Within. Here we go. Nice and tight. So again, you can see that raised section. Up we go again. It's raised. There you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Leaving this is the tail to the original. This is your working yarn. And now from the inside, you're going to start to make your trunk. If you want your trunk to have the purl stitch, loop on the outside. If you want the trunk to have the traditional knit stitch, like the head is on her, knit from the inside like I am. So it's however you want your trunk to look. So I will continue to go around. As I go around, that's when I start pulling tight because I want this to become a circle. I want this to become a circle. If you want this raised part up higher, do 6 rows or 7 rows, however you choose your Ellie the elephant's face to look. Go ahead and do that. So I am going to continue to loop around, and as I said before, I will start, once it gets long enough, I will start pulling it. You see how it's starting to pull down, and everything is attached to each other, and everything is tightly attached on the inside of the head. And again, the reason that I do this before I put the body on is I have access without fighting anything. I can have access through the bottom, and I can have access through the top. And as a knitter, for me, maybe it's because I'm new. Maybe I'll always be this way, but for me, that is very hard to do. Now I have a very basic video program. I wish I was able to just fast forward all the way through this, and I am not. I do not remember exactly how many rows I knitted around to get the trunk to be the way that I wanted it to be. But sadly, that's kind of my MO, is I am not one to count a lot. If I cook the same way. My friends are like, Kathy, that's how you cook. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Oh, I can make that. Let's just throw it together. So make it look like that. And again, if you're new to knitting, boy, you can use your hands to make the yarn go kind of the way that you want it to go. I said earlier, I am not a relaxed knitter. I am a tight knitter. So I'm making sure that my tension behind each of my loops is the same. And I'm making sure that, that I am pulling my loops close, close together when I am knitting. Did I start going on the outside? I certainly did. When did I start? Oh, there we go. It was just that loop. That felt odd. So I'm going on the inside. If you caught my mistake, thanks. Wish I could hear ya. Keep going around. And this trunk and this head has taken me will take me about one skein of doing it. The ears, inside of the ears on this one are going to be a blue by request of the person that asked me to make it. Ellie's ears were pink, so maybe this is going to be Albert. The elephant. So here we go. I'm trying to go fast. I just don't, I don't have that feature. This is just a basic program on my PC, so I don't have that. But making sure you go around, because I want to show you how you make it curl up when you're done. All right, so I shut it off. I finished knitting. As I was knitting, I kept trying to roll up the trunk a little bit to see how I wanted it to look when it was rolled, how I wanted her face to look when it was rolled. It starts kind of naturally rolling up. If I were to measure how long the trunk is, her trunk from her face to the end is about 6 or 7 inches. If I did that, and I like it. I like where it is. I like it where it's on her face. I can envision her eyes right here against that. So I am ready to tie her off and then make the trunk curl more. So when you make the trunk curl, you are going to want a little bit longer piece. If you've done any stuffies whatsoever, you probably know by now that you're going to weave around, pull in, and get that nice and tight at the end. I did not stuff Ellie's trunk. When I did her, it's a preference. If you choose to, you choose to. I didn't think it was necessary, especially with such nice, lush, thick yarn. So you go around, you pull tight, you go in through the center, and this is what I learned how to do the gnomes from Holy Moly Dane. Again, if you are new and you have never watched a Holy Moly Dane, you're missing out, because she's incredible. Her tutorials are incredible. Her work is incredible. And you learn a lot. So here I am. That is the top. That is the top. I'm going to tie my knot. So when I put it in, it kind of goes to, it's nice and tight at that very end, and it doesn't want to come out. But then what you're going to do is you're going to weave on the inside and pull, and that helps you to curl. So you take your end And this is how she does the gnome hats. I was mesmerized when I was watching her do those gnome hats. So my knot came through. I'm just going to push it through the next loop, and right down here, that's the next loop. I'm going to take my end and feed it. You got to get your hands in there and feed it through the next stitch. All right, we'll come. Feed it through. It feeds through. Come on, let's go. There we go. There it is. Feed it through. Sorry, it took a minute. And then you keep pulling. Look at that. Look at, she's curling. It curls. It will curl as much as you want it to curl. And I believe I went all the way back into the head. I went all the way back into the head and reached down. This is the top, and reached to where, it's the bottom, to where I had that little tag right there where I first started. So all of this, and this are going to be tied back together, and it's nice and secure, especially if you're going to have little fingers that are playing with this. You know, little fingers can get in. I teach kindergarten, so little fingers can get into just about anything they want to get into. I've watched in amazement with some of my little 5 and 6-year-olds. There we go. I got it. It's nice and tight. Making sure my loops are nice and tight. I found a loop that wasn't quite as tight. I'm going to go take that loop that I went through. I'm going to pull this through it so I have it nice and secure. I'm going to go back to the top right here. The top that I am going back to is where I actually started those loops, making sure that everything is nice and secure. So again, you can see why I want access to top and I want access to bottom. So when I'm going in there, this one is longer. I'm taking the 2 tails, and it's hard to show, but I am taking the tail from up here and the tail that I just weaved through, and I am making a nice knot. You can choose, I'll see if I can show you after I get it done. You can choose to leave these tails inside because you're going to stuff anyway, or if you want, you can bring them out. So let's see what I can do. There's my knot right there. There's the knot right there that I made with both of them. And that elephant's, Ellie, Egbert, the elephant, his trunk is nice and secure. Nice and secure. And then the eyes are going to go right here on either side. So for the eyes, I used white and black, and I put the white in first. If you've never done eyes before, you want to make sure that they're in the same place. You want to make sure you have a place to tie around. So my white and then my black is going to go on top of my white. So before I tie anything off, I push it in, and then I'm pushing my black in the same hole. My black in the same hole, and I am pulling to make sure that I have a nice eye. Then I go to the other side. I wanted them on the other side. I wanted them to be on either side like that. I wanted it to be that way. So I come across, I make sure I have 2 pieces of yarn that are knitted across. And you put them in the same, and you start with the white because you want the black. Played around with it a lot, just to let you know. And I found this worked better. If you have another technique that you use, I would absolutely love to know. And I would love to see it. And then you play with the eyes. And then if you want eyelashes, I just did one. On here, if you watched how to sew an eye on a bunny, boy, this is way faster and way easier. And I actually like this because I can do it so quickly compared to the bunny. The bunny is a little more detailed and a little bit harder. So there's Ellie's eyes. And then you simply need to tie them off inside. And again, the head is getting quite stuffed where you're tying off. Again, having access with both my hands is very important so that I can tie them off and have them secure, especially with little fingers. I believe I cut each of them about 6 inches. When I'm tying them off, see, I just looked because I pulled that black way too tight. I want to make sure that it's secure on the inside, but I also want to make sure that she has a cute little eye on the outside. So I'm tying the black right now, the thicker black, right? And then I can push it through. Then I'm going to find the ends to the white that's in there. And there's one white piece. And for the other white piece. The other way, there it is. There's one white piece, there's one black piece. Tie that in a knot. Inside with your fingers. And then you take your thin piece that you have, and you can go twice if you want the lash to be a little bit longer or a little bit thicker. You can take it out longer if you want it to be a little bit longer. It really is preference. So this is one eye done. And then I'll show you the other eye when we start the ears in a minute. So cute, cute, cute. Ellie the elephant. All right, folks, so here we are, and we're going to do the ears. I did videotape doing this very first ear, and I was out of the camera's range so much that, well, you're going to watch me do the second one. If you want an inside of the ear different, then you obviously use a different color. The customer who is buying this decided that she wanted blue because this is for a baby boy. So I went the row right next to where the eyelash ended on this side and from top to bottom and put a double border on. So as I lay Ellie, or Egbert I should say, because it's for a boy, I'm going to lay him down, and I am going to start at the bottom with my working yarn going up this row. So this part where the end is going to be fed all the way up through. I have lots of tails inside of here. This is the tail from the other ear, and I keep it as stuffing. So I'll go in about 18 to 24 inches to make sure that I can push my loops all the way up through, sorry, did that wrong. I can push my loops all the way up through. So I take the last hole here, I go on the inside, pull it all the way through, about 18 inches, because this is the yarn I'm gonna pop up and put my row of loops. Again, I think this is why I always want access on the inside, because it helps me as a knitter to make sure I can have access and I have good tension on there. There are a lot of tailings in here because I keep them for the filling, like I said, and that, which is another reason why I keep both ends open. So there's one, I did 6 on the very first side, 2, And I'm pulling from this. When I pull through, they're the same. 2, now I am on 3, and 4 comes right by that eyebrow. You can see the eyebrow kind of moving a little bit. Right, our eyelash. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. They're about the same. I leave this here just like I did the other one. Right there. I am not a big measurer because I like to have room for mistakes. I will set it up sometimes and look and make sure it looks even on both sides. When I come back, I am going to, keep it this way. I'm going to push through because I want the knit side on the inside and the purl stitch on the outside. So just watch yourself. Sometimes that still confuses me. I am new to the knitting world. I am doing this because someone said, how did you do your elephant? And I said, I just figured it out. So this is how I figured it out. So you may not agree with what I'm doing, and that's okay. Push around, and then, stay on the same side and push up. And there's that knit stitch. I went 5 up, and I went down and back, leaving the top one and the bottom one unstitched so that I would have a curve to her ear, his ear. So that's 3. Pushing through, pushing through. Make sure that your loops are the same, and make sure the tension back here is the same. Make sure you don't have anything that's loosey-goosey between, that you have them so this piece right here going from one loop to the next is the same, and that the height of your stitches is the same. I am a tight knitter. I'm about a 1-finger knitter most of the time, unless I'm doing a stitch that needs to be a little bit bigger, which actually ends up being a challenge personally for me. So here I am with row 3. See that? Row 3. We got the knit. It matches the knit on this side of him, making sure this yarn is nice and loose. Push it through. 4. My fingers, making sure that you grab every single loop. If you don't, just pull it out. Pulls out nice and easily. Making sure that I kiss. Making sure that the back is as tight as the front. 5. I'm on 5 now. I hope I'm on 5. That's what I'm in my head, talking and trying to count at the same time. 5 right here. 5 right here. I always try to make my working yarn a little bit loose so that I'm getting the same tension. When I see a mistake, I stop and I change that mistake, make it better, right? So right here, I'm looking over here, here, and here, going down one more time and up one more time. So when I go down one more time, it's all of them. But when I come up, it's just gonna be, it will be just the 4 in the middle. And I'll stop there. Make sure these are not twisted also, because that changes your stitch. You wanna make sure everything's nice and straight. Kiss and knit. I wish I remember, if the person that said kiss and knit, I wish I remembered your name. I'm so sorry. This is not my, I say kiss, but I never said kiss and knit. So through there. Now I'm going to skip this one and I'm going to go right here. So this is a little bit taller, so it kind of gives a little bit of a curve. And the curve also comes as you're putting the border on. 2 and 3 and 4. And then snip. You're going to snip so that you can weave down and push in and tie off with your others. I actually start the border down right at the head. I start at the bottom, or I'll start at the top, and I'll go around, and then I'll come back because I want to be able to tie everything to that. So now here's my gray. I'm going to leave the tail of my gray. If you have ever finished a blanket, it's a double border, and it worked for me. So that's what I did. For right now, I'm just going to stuff that right in there so it doesn't get tangled up with what I'm doing. Leave a little bit of a tail. And this is still kind of loose because you haven't tied it off to anything. This is going to be the tail go down and come back, and you have all of this stuff to tie together to keep that ear nice and secure. So if you've ever done a border, you push in, you do another loop. Next one, I make a little bit longer because this one feeds through this one, and then it comes over. Okay, you're going to come back and do the same thing using the other stitches. A little bit bigger, around, come over. Right here. Now you're using these loops. So these loops are going to be part of, yeah, I did go in, sorry. In, I don't mean to make it confusing. Here, up and around, going here, up and around, and this little tail here, don't worry about it. We're gonna weave it through, and we're gonna go back. I'm always working my yarn so I can get it to look the shape that I want it to be. And I go all the way down, make that second one, so you're not pulling too hard. You don't want it to roll in. You don't want it to roll in. And there's a lot here with the trunk and the other ear. Push it in right here, pull it over. Next one, push it in. A little bit difference of a height. This one's a little bit different because it's pushing through here and it's pulling over the top. Same thing. There you go. Push it through the top, just like this. And you're gonna go to your next blue. It doesn't have a loop because that bottom part didn't have a loop, but it works. You saw in the first ear that it works. Turn it to where it works for you. That's just that coming through from me pushing it in. Pushing it in with that. And that will be covered when you go back around again. Push through. And here. And push through. Up. Up. Push through. Come on the inside. And push through. On the inside, pull up, through, and up, and it's nice, and it's covered. It's covered just like it is on there, and there's like the braided part from that you had like on the end of a blanket if you've done a blanket. So push in. It's nice and tight so you know that it's going to stay. Pull it through. And you do this until you go all the way to the end for you to come back and tie it off right there. And there you go. It's long enough. You, as a knitter, I have found, because this is new to me, I have found that the more I do it, the more I feel with my hands, and I feel for the right feel of it. For me to be able to border whatever I'm doing, and the more I do it, the better I get. I am newer. I am 2.5 months in, and 90% of what I've done, I have taught myself. And holy moly Dane, if you've not watched her, I know I've said her name on my other couple of videos. She has been the one I go to just because I know I can learn from her. I'm not searching a ton, and she's a good resource for me. So that is why I don't know her personally, so I just know that her work is phenomenal and her videos are amazing. So I'm staying underneath that blue once again, pushing it in. It's nice and tight that you're pushing through, pulling through. When you get to the top, push through the next one, through the top. Make sure it's not twisting. You don't want it to twist because you want your braid to be nice and tight on top with the 2 ears nice and tight, and go through that last time right there. Make that a little bit shorter. That's going to cover up that last bit of blue, and it's tucked down right into here for both sides of Egbert's ear. So I take and I snip. I have it like I want it to look. These loops here are part of, this is going to be the body, so that's where those loops go. Take this loop here, pull it, and then go on the inside down here, and make sure that you pull it. Again, you don't want to see that blue, and then this right here feeds through it, feeds through the blue back into your head again. Make sure you're into your head again. And all of those are tied off to make that ear nice and tight. And if you know little kids, if you have little children, you've been around little children, you know their fingers can get into just about anything. This one right here is part of the top of the head, your original circle. This right here is part of the ear that becomes nice and tight right here. This is the other part of the ear that's nice and tight right here that you have done. And then all of this, make sure I tie that on there. I give it lots of ties and tights, making sure the ears look the same as I did them with my yarn. I have all of this. You can tie off more if you need to tie off more. Making sure you want to leave the one piece that is connected to the head, because that's gonna, you end up tying that off or pulling that through the top. You're not going to need a lot of filling inside this head because you've got so many other parts inside of there, and that's going to curl up on the top as you close the head off, and this part becomes the body and the leg. All right, friends, here we go. Ears are made, eyes, head is made. I'm gonna quickly show you how to make the other arm. It's more like a paw. I have the end of this, and then I tied on another piece The first time I did everything, the body, everything down, and then I went in through the head and tried, went in through the head and down here, and I'm trying to tie it. I couldn't go down here because the body and the feet were done. So this time what I'm going to show you is to go down about halfway with the body, tie the arms on either side, then finish the body and go into the legs. Okay, so I'm going to move him for a second, or a few seconds, and to do leave a nice long tail, nice and tight. I'm going to go 3, and then I'm going to have 4. Sorry, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to pull the chain. I'm going to increase to 6. Okay, that's not tight enough. Then I'm going to increase to 6 and pull it tight at the end, and that kind of gives a little bit paw teardrop, whatever you want to say. Look to the arm. Lots of working yarn to do this, and you pull this through. And you pull this through. This is the tail. Pull that through a little bit tight. This is the part that is not easy, because you want to knit from the inside so it has the traditional stitch. The other thing that you can do is pull it up, and on the inside, if you don't want to go through that hole, just make sure that however you're doing it, you're pushing through the inside. You want to have 4 little loops coming out, kind of like a flower, a 4-petal flower. Just pull this down. Make sure that you have, there we go, it's right here on the side of this beginning, right here. Push it through. I have 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna go around again. If you watch me do my tiny turtle, I'm always counting out loud because that's what helps me. 3 and 4, and I'm going to add 2 more. Oops, see, I missed one. I missed it. 1. There we go. There it is. I missed it. That's why I'm counting out loud. See? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to go around again. Except this time, that's 4. That's 4. Go around one more time, and then I'm going to add 2 and make it the same length that the other paw hand is. 3. That's 2. Sorry. 3 and 4. There we go. They're the same. Now I'm going to go right here between this one, and I push in. There's my 5, and I skip and I go to the next one. Now I have 6. 1, 2, 3 here, 1, 2, 3 here, and I am now going to go around until my paw comes down to that size. I made that last night, and I apologize. I think I went down 4 times, so I have 6, and this is 1 all the way around. Just like when you're knitting the ears or anything, you want them to touch each other. You want to make sure that this tension here is the same between each one of your stitches, because that is when it gets confusing. This is not stuffed at all. You can see how thick this is. Even on my bunnies, I make bunnies, and my peeps, I don't stuff the ears. On the peeps, I don't stuff the legs or the arms on my bunnies. It's just the belly and the head, and the ears are not stuffed because they hang, the bunnies that I make. So right here, I look, I thought, nope, gotta go again. I lost count because I'm talking with that. and you'll pull it nice and tight. There's the top, right here. If I pull it, if I pull these down, they're going to be the same. It's 6 around. I make it work. It's 6 around. When I pull, it will be the same. So do that stitch and that stitch. And I apologize those of you who may be frustrated with me because I'm not a big counter who wants to know everything exact. That's not how I roll. For me, it's always visual because I've used different yarns and I've been told different things, and this is what works for me. So then you go around and around. Ooh. Lint. Oh, the life of a knitter, the lint. This gives it that paw look right there. Around, around, around until you've done them all around. When you pull, 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 pull it nice and tight. You want that nice and tight. Come on. Get them through all those circles. Nice and tight. Right there, like that. I want to try to get that end so that you don't have an opening. So I'm going to go one more time right here to make sure that that pulls in. There we go. There we go. There we go. So it's nice and tight. See the paw-like? The paw-like look. I knot. Just like that. Don't know where I learned that one from. That was a video I watched to knot. Probably Holy Moly Dane. Push in. Make sure that knot is pushed in. Nice and tight. Right there, you're going to snip another little piece. I am going to tie it on the other side right here, like I did this one. And then I have these nice long pieces to push through after I have started Egbert Edison's body. Egbert Edison. There we go. And I have my 2 paws that are right there. And when I bring Ellie Egbert in, we'll know that these are going to fit right here so that you have arms with the body going down. So here we go with the body. This is where you stopped knitting the first time. And this is what you are going to do to continue with the body. So when I do this, I join this piece together. Here we go with some more of that stuff that's going to go down in there. I'm going to knit from inside the circle so that I have the traditional knit stitch and not the purl stitch on the outside, because I want it to be consistent coming down nice and tight. Here we go again, tucking that in, lots of filling inside of there. And then we begin to push through and to knit around. One of the things that I did, I had 10 and you'll notice that I have 8. I went one time and I doubled over to make sure that I had 8 because the legs are going to be 6 and 6 and 1 in the middle. What do I mean by double over? Which one did I double over? No, so typical stitch. Double over, I did it, the one before is where you take 2 loops, put them together, and then make your stitch. I did that to make, instead of having 10, I did it so that I would have 8 loops, and I did it twice. Here it is right here. So instead of just going through 1 loop, this very last one, you'll see it's through this loop here and it's through this loop here, so it gives you 1 less loop. So I did that twice, so I made it down to 8 loops. All right, so we're tied on, and here we go. I am going to go down 4 to 6 rows. Again, I'm a tight knitter. I go one finger. That's kind of what I do. And I like the look of it. I like the look of my blankets. And unless there's another reason to do it differently, that's kind of what I do. Pushing those loops together nice and tight, making sure this piece is also nice and tight, and going around all 8. And I just finished around the first time, nice and tight. So that's 1. Here we go, 2. Here we go, 2. And here we go, 3. I apologize when I get out of view, because this is not something that I do on a regular basis, teaching underneath a camera. I teach, but not underneath a camera. I teach kindergartners. So this is my second row. Now I'm getting to my 3rd row. Some yarns, for some reason, they tend to roll one way or curl one way. So you can see that his neck is a little bit smaller than his body. You can see that starting to come out. If you wanted it smaller, you could overlap another 2 and make the body even a little bit smaller. I find this works. If you have made a peep, you understand that you go up 8 and then 6, and then each ear is 3. So this is going down 8. You'll tie 2 in the middle and have 3 and 3 on each side for the leg that I'll show you in a couple of minutes. And this is really exciting because I know you've been doing this for a long time, and if you've lasted this long, we've been here for a good amount of time. And when we get these feet done, this little fella is done and ready for his home, and I'm so excited. I'll get to bring him. I am on spring break right now, and I will get to bring him to Auntie and on Monday. All right, so I've gone down enough that I feel that I can attach those arms that were made on either side. So, nope, I'm gonna go around, I'm sorry. I'm gonna go around 1 until they're all the same, until I finished my entire row around. Is that there? With that. So, I'm gonna lay him down, and this neck area right here, is where I'm gonna put the arms, right? And I have the original that's there, and I tied on another one. So I am going to try tripod, 1, 2, 3, right here, push it in through this neck area. So I'm gonna go right down the back of that ear line when I do this. So there's 1 in, reach up, pull through, 1 in, and then the 3rd one in, reach up, go up, just 1 in front. This is nice and tight. Push it in, and I'm telling you, I had such a hard time with my first, this is only my second elephant, by the way, when I went to tie on. The arms are floppy. I wasn't sure that that's the way I wanted it, but I like that the arms kind of just hang down. So I'm getting them in there with that, and they kind of hang. They kind of just hang. So there you go, just like that. So now I'm going to tie them together up top, 2 of them, and yeah, I think you've probably already guessed it. This will be stuffing that I have on there, and they're nice and they're tight right there. So then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come down. Now, putting on the arms to right here, I'm going to make sure when I put it on, that look is the same when I put it on, and that it's going to kind of fall in the same place. This is something that I eyeball when I'm doing my bunnies as well, and putting those arms. I do the arms a little bit different on the bunnies. Pushing over, I got both of them. Yeah, got both of them. And push this one in right here. Got both of them. Hope you can see what I did. I'm looking, sometimes it's hard for me to, my screen goes dark on me. That's probably an adjustment I need to make when I'm doing it. There we go. There we go. They're the same. Now I want to make sure I have this one and this one that goes to the other one and this one. So these three go with this little arm. These three go with this arm. And I tie them back, stuff them in, nice and tight. Little arms, push it in. There's a lot of fill, and this fill is nice and soft because it's the beautiful yarn that you're filling with. The arms look nice. They lay nicely. I pick back up, and here I go. And I am going to go down. I went 4. I'm probably going to go down at least another 4 before I separate it and I go into the legs. So just to let you know, I started a brand new skein for the body and the legs because I don't like to have to tie off or fuse together in the middle of a head, the legs, the arms, the body. I've had to do it a couple times because I simply did not give myself enough yarn. So the head and the trunk were one skein. The edging on the ears was probably 1/4 of a skein. And then that other 1/4 or so were the arms. And now there's this. I have worked from 3 skeins of gray. 3 skeins of gray. I'm going to, this is hard because it's getting big now. I'm going to kind of lay them down and do my rows laying down. I'm going to turn as I go. Making sure, see, that was turned in. That's what I mean. That was naturally turned in. So when I am knitting, I'm not only making sure my tension between the loops are the same and my loops are the same, I'm also making sure that my loops aren't twisted, because in one of my very first blankets, I couldn't figure it out. I've got a nail. I couldn't figure it out why it was looking the way it did, and it was because some of my loops were twisting. You can see her body coming into shape, his body coming into shape. And how far you go down, I am 1, 2, 3, 5 down with that. She's getting bigger, so this camera is harder. I'm just using a basic dot cam, so it doesn't have a ton of height, and I already have it setting on books. And because his height is so much bigger, here we go. How cute is this little fella? How cute is this little fella? I just absolutely adore him. The reaction that my friend had when I brought Ellie in was every second of me doing this. Okay, so I am actually going to turn off, finish, and I'll turn back on when I do the legs. All right, woohoo, we are in the home stretch. This is the 5th clip I have done, by the way. This little guy is not so little. So I went down, if we count the rows this way, this is where it connected and became smaller. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I did it to the end of the arms. And I remember last time, again, this is just my second one, when I tried to go through the head with everything and try to stuff this little part of the body, it was a pain. It was a pain. So arms are on, we got both ears on, super cute. And now it is time for us to do the legs, with the legs. So you are going to leave 2 of them in the middle, and you'll do 3 on this side and 3 on this side, or 4 and none in the middle, 4 on this side. All right, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to show you that. If you have done a peep, these are the ears to the peep. I'm going to actually flip him over because this might, I don't know. I'm usually doing this sitting down. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. It goes with this loop right here. So my next loop is right here on the bottom. And again, my working yarn is on the inside so that I have the same stitch from the head to the feet. I have the same stitch from the head to the feet. Up and around, and you will go down all the way, and I'll do this first one with you right like this. Stop any time so that you can do your thing if you need to. And this comes down. This is my second. Making sure you're getting the right loops. When you're doing a small circle like this, getting each loop and making sure that your loops are nice and that your loops are touching and your tension is the same. It can be a little bit tricky if it's new for you. So make sure you grab the loop and not this part, and keep going. And keep going down, or keep going around and tucking from the inside. So once you get these legs done, all you have to do is tie off the top, his head, and you have the cutest little elephant for a baby. For a baby gift. Actually, the very first one I made was for a 14-year-old, and 15-year-old, and this one is for a newborn. So I don't know that there's any age limitation on the elephant. It's just who wants that elephant, right? So you keep on going around. And if you've made a peep, it's just like making the ears to the peep, except you're going to make it go into a leg. I didn't even know how wide and tall my elephant was. I had to call my friend and say, hey, can you grab Ellie out of the closet and measure her while her daughter was still sleeping, because it's an Easter gift. So just like the first one I did, I looked at the legs in proportion to the body, in proportion to the hands where they were, to decide how long the legs are going to be. I want to go down. I'm probably going to go at least 3 more rows before I do that. And how do I know with the next one? I compare it to the one next to it. Just like I did with the arms. When I showed you how to do the second arm, I had done the first one. Like I did with the ears. I had done the first ear and did it again. It takes me 2 to 2.5 hours right now to make an Ellie the elephant. This is taking me longer, and then I have a little bit of editing to do to put all the pieces together. If you had no faster way, let me know. There we go. There you go. And when I look at Egbert, when I look at him, and look at how he looks height-wise and head-wise and leg-wise. I think that's good when I set him up. Where do the legs go? It's so hard to see with his trunk. Here's his trunk pulled up, and there's his legs going out. My friend said that her Ellie was from the head to the feet was 21 inches long, and I should go around one more time because, oopsie, that's not quite 21 inches. So I'm gonna go around one more time, and then I know it's right in the same vicinity that that my very first one was. And I measured across the ears. These ears are a little bit wider. So her ears were 14 and a half, and these ears are 17. So 2.5 inches wider. I probably want 1 stitch more on each one. And we end it just like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. We end it, we snip it right here. Feed them around, just like you did with the paws or other animals that you do. Pushing the yarn around, last loop in, pushing it around, pulling it tight, getting that little foot on there, nice and tight. A knot right there, nice and tight. It's a little bit trickier getting it in here because this is a little bit smaller than this part of the arm was. And I push it all the way up into the leg. And now I'm going to show you where and how to start this leg. You will push in. This is really hard now that he's bigger. Okay, so just like when I do the peep ears, I tie this together by pushing through the 2 pieces between those 4 loops. Pull it through. I'm going to knot it. I did push my stuffing in. I hope I said that at the beginning. I stuffed her body, so the body is nice and stuffed. You can see how the lines come down nice. Everything comes down nice with the stitches. That's 1. Now I'm going to do 2 like this. I am going to push that in, making sure that the fill is nice and even, the way I want the fill to be. And then the same technique, you are going to move this ball of yarn, will make it easier for me. And you're going to do the same thing, going around until your leg is the same length as the other leg, using all of those little, making sure your loops, you don't miss a loop, making sure that the tension is the same, and making sure that you are knitting from the inside, I can tell you, using this method, because I use it for my bunnies as well, using the peeps and learning all about the peeps was like, I learned so much just by the peeps. So I'm going to let you finish yours. I'm going to turn this off, and when I come back on, I will be ready to close up the head with you. So here we are. Egbert Edison, the elephant, is straight down. You can see how nice and straight those lines that knit stitch. And there is the trunk. And here is the top. I put some fiber fill in, not much at all, just to round out the head. the thicker yarn I have found sometimes is tricky to close off the head because it is thick. So I have, in my trial and error of closing off a head, used the part that's up here, this last one, the very tail, the very beginning. And I have also had to double up and use some thinner with it. So it's just going to be what it takes to make sure it looks nice and it is pulled nice and tightly. Again, as I say, so little fingers cannot get in there. There's the top of his ear, and we are giving it a tug, just like we did with the feet, just like we did with the arms. It's just a little bit trickier up here because it's a bigger circle with thicker yarn. Pulling it in as you go. I'm a teacher, and kids love, if you have children or you teach, Elephant and Piggy books, and I've even thought a coworker of mine is really super into them with shirts and everything, and I thought, she might need an elephant and a piggy. So go through around here, pull it, I leave that top loop up, pull it through. Sometimes your thicker yarn gives you a little bit of grief at the top. There's that knot that you put in. Pull it out, push it in nice inside there, making sure that's nice and secure. I don't know what you're looking at because can't see my screen. There you go. And there he is. He's done. My Ellie had a little bow on the top of her, but she was a girl. And this is for a little boy, and I thought the blue would be fun. When I tie the ribbon around the neck of my bunnies, I always go in the back, and I go through a couple stitches in the back so it stays on, and pull it to the front, and I'll probably tie it to the side so that you can see it, because when you set this little dude up, you also have his trunk. That's kind of tricky to see, but I like this, the nice touch of the ribbon. Again, Ellie had a bow in her hair, on her head, but not doing that because this is a girl or a boy for a boy. So we're gonna do the bow right here, pull it in, make it look nice, and it's done. Like I said, I take a good 2 hours to make my stuffies. I don't know if that's something that you're willing to do, to make your stuffy with the trunk come down and the ears and the arms and the legs, and hopefully you enjoyed your time. Hopefully I was helpful in some way. Boy, even with that trunk, even with it on the side, I think I have to bring this bow to the side a little bit more. It's a process. There's his bow right down there hidden. He's very cute. So follow me on Cat's Cozy Creations on Facebook, or on keep following me here, and I'll be doing a few tutorials. Again, I'm newer to this journey, but I love teaching others. So thanks for your time, and have a great rest of your day.